All right. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Downey Wanjack Fun Live event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I will be your host for today. As we gather, we are reminded that throughout Canada, we are situated on Indigenous lands, both ceded treaty land and unceded land. This land is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a country, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work. So today, I acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Neutral people on whose territory I am broadcasting from right now. And of course, in your own classrooms, you can take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples on whose territory you are on today. So we are really excited. At Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we have the last 3 years been connecting with the Gore, Downey, and Cheney Wanjack Fund for an amazing series of events, introducing students to Indigenous artists and leaders and storytellers and scientists from all across Canada, which is why we're so excited to be doing monthly events that we call Downey Wanjack Fun Live to share even more stories with students across Canada. So the Downey Wanjack Fund is part of musician Gord Downey's legacy and embodies his commitment and that of both the Downey and Wanjack families to build cultural understanding and create a path towards reconciliation through Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The goal of DWF is to continue the conversation that began with Cheney Wanjack's residential school story and to support the reconciliation process through awareness, education, and action. So many of our classrooms joining us here today are already doing something as Legacy Schools. The Legacy Schools program is a free national initiative to engage, empower, and connect students and educators to further reconciliation through awareness, education, and action. So I know many of our classrooms are already taking part in this amazing program. We're going to share the link throughout today's event as well. So any classrooms interested in learning more can do so after today's event. Okay, with the holiday season quickly approaching, I know many in your classrooms might be thinking about other things, but I'm so excited we have this one last opportunity to gather together. And we have an amazing guest who's joining us today. We've got Métis Santa joining us today, and he's going to share a reading of Christmas Mittens by Leah Marie Dorion. And then there'll be an awesome opportunity to take some questions for him as well. So it's going to be really exciting. In Metis Culture, it's all about being grateful, thanking our Creator for the gifts of family, friends, and community, and sharing the spirit of the Christmas season. So I think that's enough from me right now. Let's bring Métis Santa in with us right now. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, well, it's so great to have you joining us live today. We have an incredible group of students joining us right across Canada today. We have some of them joining us in camera spots, so we'll get to say hi to them and they'll ask some questions. We have others joining us live via YouTube, and they're going to send in some great questions for us. In fact, I'm going to introduce a few groups right now. I already have groups saying hi to us from a lot of places. We've got Calgary, Alberta, Toronto, Chalk River, Ontario, Vancouver, British Columbia, Stony Plain, Alberta, Ajax, Ontario, Huron County, Ontario, Edmonton, Durham, Ontario, another grade 1 class in Edmonton. So keep those greetings coming. It is so great to have you live today with us, Métis Santa. It's so good to see you.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Of course, of course. So I hear you've got a story that you're going to read to us today. We're really excited to hear the story.
I do have a story today. Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to make you nice and big and full screen for us, and we'll let you jump right into the story.
Sounds good. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to read to you this morning a book called My Christmas Mittens. And as Joe mentioned to you, it's written by Leah Marie Dorion in Saskatchewan. Okay. So in the Métis culture, Christmas is very important to us. Okay. So this particular story talks about the traditions. It says, my family has a Christmas mitten tradition. On cold winter days, Métis Christmas mittens are made to warm the hands and the heart. See? When snow greets the land, Métis families begin to make their special Métis Christmas mittens by hand. These are all done by hand in the days of old and even today. Mittens are joyfully worn by every child and adult. And here you see one of my Christmas mittens here. See? Métis mittens have been made everywhere across the homeland, from the Red River to the land of the mighty Peace. Métis Christmas mittens are made to show we care and to tell others that they belong. Okay. So to make the mittens, the person making the mittens would often use an old brown paper bag and make a pattern from that. And Grandma's own design, or the person that was making them, would be folded and put them in a tin can and store them there until they're ready to make the mittens. Okay. Some Métis mittens are scented with smoked tan moose hide. Others are trimmed with beautiful soft beaver fur to calm and comfort the worried mind. So in these, you see that this mitten is made from moose hide, and it has the beaver fur on the trim up here. Okay. Other Métis Christmas mittens are made from recycled pieces of cloth. It's a reminder to reuse and recycle everything we have and to treat everything with respect. In every stitch, a prayer is made to bring blessings from our caring Creator to the person receiving the mittens. Métis Christmas mittens are sewn together by hand using a sharp needle and a strong sinew for thread. And sinew is usually made from the animals that are harvested. Many are decorated with beautiful flower beadwork, ribbons, and fine embroidery stitches. There are so many different kinds of Métis Christmas mittens. And after I finish this story here, I'll show you some of the ones that I have received. Pom-poms, tassels, and fringes are sometimes added for decoration on our Métis Christmas mittens. Okay. It was an old Métis tradition to place a small beaded heart on the back of the thumb for good luck and to show love from the maker. Okay. So here you see in this illustration where they have the beaded heart on the thumb. Okay. A touch of beadwork reminds us to live every day connected to our heart. There are all kinds of Métis mittens, but no two pair of mittens are exactly the same. Métis people make mittens to give away. And here you see an illustration of the love that goes into the gift. A mitten is rarely lost by a traveling dog team driver. Often mushers' mittens are held together by a brightly braided cord which runs through their sleeves so they can dangle out the arms. Okay. So, and I'll show you on my mittens here. There is an attachment here, and this is where they would attach the cord and the cord would then run up the sleeves and around to the other pair of mittens so that you don't lose them. Métis mittens are placed in a mitten box right beside the door. Mittens are given away to traveling friends, relatives, and strangers visiting from afar as a gift. Christmas is always a treasure time to give someone in your circle a homemade pair of Métis Christmas mittens. So in the back here, we have some different patterns of for mittens if you were wanting to make some. Okay. And also some designs. Okay. And now I'll show you some of the mittens that I've received. I showed you these ones, and you see the nice beadwork across the back, the fringes, and they're trimmed with beaver fur. Okay. And over here I have some that were made for my mother by my Kokum grandma. Okay. These gloves were made as riding gloves for my mother by my Kokum. And you'll notice that all the nice beautiful beadwork around the back and then on the back of the hand. Okay. And Kokum made these nice little fringes to hang down like that. And so when my mother would wear these gloves riding, this is what they would look like. And here's another pair. You notice how well worn these are. She's worn them right out. And so these were, then other mittens were made for her to wear these would probably be worn on special events, okay, and to keep warm. I also have some slippers here that was made for me last Christmas. Okay? And these ones have the design of the white buffalo. So if you're reading about the Metis culture, you know that the buffalo hunt was an annual event and would take many people to harvest the buffalo and provide food and resources then for many months for the settlements. Okay? And here's another pair of mucklucks that I got from northern Quebec, and these ones have a canvas up on the top, nice stitching across the vamp here, okay, and lined with a nice felt. And here's another pair that I had many years ago, made by one of my relatives. You see the beautiful beadwork across, okay? And then fringes around the vamp here. Okay, so open to questions. Can't hear you, Joe.
There we go. Métis Santa, thank you so much for reading us that great story and for sharing those beautiful mittens, the beautiful slippers, and moccasins. I noticed when you showed them to us that the beadwork on a lot of them was flowers or plants. Is that pretty common, or can the beadwork, you know, mean other things?
It could be many things. It depends on the families that were making them. So the red rose was the Alberta rose, and that was usually the pattern that my grandmother would use on her crafts. Okay, so if you see here the red rose here, and my mother's mittens, where did I put them? You see on this one, she has the roses on this one as well. Okay, so usually the craftsman would have their little logo that they would use for the various crafts that they make.
All right. And when you were sharing with us some stories about how the mittens were made, I really liked how everything was recycled and being used. Nothing was going to waste. Using the moose hide, using the sinew for the stitches, the beaver fur to trim them. I think that is such an important message for our students today, how we need to think more about using everything and recycling things and taking better care of our planet. I think those mittens are a really good symbol for not wasting what we have.
That's true, Joe. In the culture, people would not waste any part of the animal or the bird. So the bones, the carcass, the hides, and also all the meat and all parts of the animals are used somewhere.
All right. Well, I think it's time to meet some of the students we have joining us right across Canada today. While you were reading, even more classrooms introduced themselves. We have a few more from Edmonton, Miss Metcalf's crew, Miss LaPlante's crew. We've got third graders also in Edmonton with Miss Wardell. We've got another group in Markham, Ontario, another group with Miss Zadok from St. Albert, Treaty 6, homeland of the Métis. We've got Spruce Grove, Alberta, Wawa, Ontario, grade 1-2 in Edmonton, Alberta, Peterborough, Ontario. It's so great to see so many classrooms spending some time with us right now. But I'm going to take some questions from the chat. So those who are on, keep sending us questions from YouTube. I'm also going to start bringing in some of our live camera classrooms. We're going to take some of their classroom questions, and we're going to start in British Columbia. We have some third graders hanging out with Mrs. T. They're in Surrey, British Columbia. So here we go. I'm going to bring them in right now. Oh, look at that. I love your headband.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jana, and I want to know, why is Christmas important to the Métis culture?
Hi, Jenna. Thank you for your question. The Christmas is very important to the Métis culture because it brings the people together, and it gives them an opportunity to share the love within the family. So,
Right.
all different families that have different traditions. In our family, all the family would get together, my kokums, my aunties, and my uncles, and my cousins, and there would be lots of music. They would bring out the instruments because most of my relatives would play something. My grandma would play an accordion, my grandpa the fiddle, my uncles played fiddles and banjos, guitars, and it was a great time.
All right. Before you go, Jenna, are there any traditions that you have at home or that you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Eid and Ramadan. I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm Muslim, and that's what my mom told me. I thought I celebrate Christmas, but I don't.
All right. Well, everyone celebrates the holidays and being together with family in different ways, right? And that's really cool to have those differences. Awesome. Thanks, Jenna. Great question. All right. Let us grab a question from YouTube here. So let's see. Okay. So Miss Wardell's class is curious. They're wondering, how do you get the material? How do you get the hide off of the animals to make into the mittens?
The hide from the animal is removed very carefully, and would usually you would hang the animal up and then use a sharp instrument to cut along the hide between the hide and the meat of the animal. And then once the hide was removed, it would be placed on a stretcher and all the flesh removed from the back of the hide. And on the other side would the hair, all that hair would be removed if you were trying to make something for like mittens here, or gloves. And then that hide would be smoked and tanned out in the air, and it would usually take about up to a week or a little longer, depending on the weather, for that hide to be tanned. Some cases, like in for the beaver, the fur was left on because you wanted that effect, but the inside of the skin would be tanned and dried as well.
All right. So it's not a quick process. It sounds like it's a skilled process. It takes some time, but then you have a beautiful and looks like a very tough, long-lasting mitten after that.
Yes, these last for many, many, many years.
Yeah, very exciting. All right. Thunder Bay. We've got some grade 2s hanging out with us all the way in Thunder Bay, Ontario. I see someone up at the camera. How you doing, grade 2s?
How long it takes?
Say hi. Say hi first.
Hi.
Hi.
How long you can make those?
How long does it take?
How long it takes to make the mittens?
The mittens. Well, the mittens would, depending on how fancy you're going to make the mittens, like a pair of mittens like this would take several weeks to make, because first of all, you have to make the glove, get it cut out to the right size for the person. They would usually have a paper pattern where somebody would trace their hand on a piece of paper, and then that would be transferred over to the hide. The hide would be then cut out, and then along each of the seams, as you see here, they would have to stitch that hide. So maybe it'll show a little better on these ones over here. Okay. So if I go to the inside, you'll see here where you see the stitches. So this is all done by hand all the way around. And then if you're attaching a fur to it, that would have to be sewn on. And then usually the last part here would be the special effects, like if you're putting beads on, like on this one here, or in my mother's gloves, you see all the intricate designs. So this would usually take quite a while. So it'd probably take, probably about 5 to 10 days to make a nice pair of gloves.
All right, grade 2s in Thunder Bay. Thanks for that great question. We'll probably come back your way in a little bit and see if you have another one for us. So, Métis Santa, we've got a few questions. Miss LaPlante's class and also Miss McKay's class. They want to know more about the beads. Where did the beads come from? What are they made of?
The beads are mostly made of glass, and you would purchase them in a craft store. Or in the old days, where they would get them would be through the Hudson Bay store, and they would be highly prized depending upon the color. And back in my grandmother's days, they would probably bring pelts in, like beaver pelts, and trade them for goods like this. These days here now, you can buy them at most craft stores.
All right, we're going to bring another one of our camera classrooms in with us right now to see if they have a question. In Ottawa, Ontario, we have some 6th graders, third graders. Yeah, 3rd graders in Ottawa. Miss McMenamin's crew. I'm going to bring them in now. There they are. Hey, Ottawa. How's everyone doing today?
Hello.
Look at that rainbow shirt.
Oh yeah.
Can you find these in stores?
Pardon?
Can you find these in stores?
You mean the mittens? And
Yeah.
yes, yeah, you'll see various craft stores that sell these, or especially at Christmas time, if you go out to the all the bazaars and sales in the communities, there'll be craftsmen selling their product. And in some cases, if you know someone that makes them, you can order them ahead of time. You give them the pattern of your hand or your foot, or if it's a vest, give them the sizes, and they would make them for you.
All right. I have Mrs. Taylor's class joining us online, and they have a few questions for you. They want to get to know you a little bit better. They'd like to know, Ivan would like to know what your favorite food is. And then the second question, your favorite winter activity.
Okay. Good questions. My favorite food is hamburger. Nice, juicy hamburger. I just love a hamburger. And my favorite winter activity is ice fishing, where you go out on the ice, you cut a hole into the ice, and you put your fishing rod down in there, and you wait for the fish to come along, and then whoop, up he comes, and you have a nice, beautiful fish. And then while you're waiting for the fish, you can enjoy the beautiful scenery, the sunshine, the everything that the Creator is giving you in that little community.
All right. I was just picturing you on the ice, waiting for a fish, maybe enjoying the sun, and having a hamburger too while you wait for the fish. Very cool. Sounds like a great way to spend the afternoon. I was noticing it looks like you have a beautiful sash on around your coat. Does that symbolize anything? It looks like a beautiful sash.
Thank you. It is a beautiful sash. The sash has been part of the Métis culture since the very early days. You'll see as you go across Canada, there are various colors here. Let me see. Here's a sash over here. So this, most of the ones that I've seen here in Alberta are the red sash, but they could be blue or gray, or depending upon the region. Manitoba, you'll probably see more blue sashes. And these were used by the voyageurs back in the day. In the day, they might have been a little bit wider, and they would probably be about 4 meters long, and 3 to 4 meters long. And the voyageurs would wrap them around. They would use them around their waist because they would be packing a lot heavy weights, or they would use them to carry materials in and sling them over their shoulder like that and carry that way. They would also be used to tie up the boats or to hold down the cargo. So there are very many applications for the sash. In modern times now, the sash is more ceremonial and is given to a Métis person or an individual in recognition of something that they've done for the person.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. They're beautifully made. We're going to bring in another camera classroom. We've got Miss Megan's grade 2 class hanging out with us. How are we doing, everyone?
Hello, grade 2.
Who's got a question for us?
Okay.
Hi. How many
Hello.
Say hi. All right, go for it.
How many beads do you need for a mitten?
Oh, how many beads? Well, that would depend on the pattern or what you want to put on them. So you would see on this pair of mittens, there are all kinds of beads there's on the back of the glove, and then on this part is called the gauntlet. And so you see how many beads go in there. And sometimes they'll put them on the back of the fingers. This pair is somewhat similar. So they've got beads across the top and then beads on the back. And then these mittens here, they only have the beads across the top. You don't have any on the back. So it would depend upon the design that you wanted to create. But it would probably take several hundred beads for the average design. And each one of those beads would be sewn in individually.
Wow. All right. Great question. And wow, that's a lot of little beads. I wouldn't want to accidentally knock down if you had them in a little cup or something. You'd be very busy collecting all of those little beads.
Yep. Yes.
All right. Well, there's so many great questions coming in from YouTube. There's so many other classrooms in places like Scarborough and Peterborough, more joining us in Alberta, LaSalle, Quebec, and they're all saying hi, and they're so excited to be able to spend some time today. And they love the story. And many of the classrooms are really curious a little bit more about how similar or different Métis Christmas might be to the Christmases that they have. So some of the students wanted to know if gifts are exchanged. Some students want to know if there's a tree and lights. They'd like to know a few more ways maybe that Métis people celebrate Christmas.
Well, there would be various ways of celebrating Christmas depending upon the family, depending upon the region, and the traditions within that family. So for us, we would have a Christmas tree. And when I was little, we would have strips of foil and what they call tinsel, and that would be put all the way around the tree. We didn't have electric lights because we didn't have electricity in our house. And so that we didn't have power or water or anything like that. It was all wood stove. So our Christmas tree, we would go out into the forest, find a tree that we like, and bring it back in. I noticed that there are some people that didn't have a tree, and what they would do is they would bring gifts. There are some families that, depending on what was available, because some families don't have a lot of money, so they would make a gift for friends and family, or share something that was important to them with that other person. So there are many ways of celebrating Christmas. Celebrating Christmas is more of a spirit of love and giving, and respecting the culture in which you are raised.
All right. I love that. I think that is such a good message. I think we get caught up in the commercial side of it, and we forget about, really it comes down to time with family, being thankful for what we have, and celebrating. And it's exciting. There's so many different ways to celebrate and be together over the holidays. So I'm going to pop in a few more camera classes and see if they have any more questions for us. Our grade 2s in Thunder Bay. How are we doing, grade 2s?
Hello, grade 2.
Do you have another question for us? Oh, I like that shirt. Very cool.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
I was wondering how you catch the animals
How you catch the animal?
that you
Okay.
use to make the mittens.
Well, depends on the animal. There are different animals. You would use different methods to catch them. So with the beaver, there would be either a steel trap or a snare that is tied down and put down in front of his house. Some of the other animals, like rabbits, you would use a snare, and the snare is set in where the rabbit would travel in the forest. For squirrels, you'd also use a snare. For moose, they would, back in the day, it would probably be use a bow and arrow or a spear. And then once some of the other methods became available, they would use a rifle, to some type of a rifle to harvest that animal.
All right. Great question. And, back when the the Hudson Bay Company was collecting fur, fur was worth, it was a very important commodity, worth a lot of money, a lot of trade going on for fur all across Canada. So Miss Rob's class is really curious about the mittens. They would like to know, are they nice and warm, and are they waterproof? Could you play in the snow with them?
Yes. Hello. So yes, these mittens are very warm. So you see these ones here, they also have a nice lining in them. And so that keeps you nice and warm. Depending upon the types of animal hide that is used. So moose hide would keep you dry for quite a while, but they would tend also to get, if you got them wet, they would also wick the moisture in. Some animals like the seal skin, I don't have the seal skin here with me, but I do have some items here in my home that are made from seal skin, and seal skin is waterproof. So depending upon the hide that is used, some of those hides will be waterproof because that's from the animal that they are harvested, but some would not be as waterproof. Okay. But they're a lot better than the cloth. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I guess that definitely makes sense when you think about the way the different animals live, and you can see how a waterproof skin for something like a seal would be very, very important, spending so much time in the cold, cold water.
Yeah, so the seals, the beaver, the muskrat, those are all water animals.
All right. Miss McManaman's crew, let's bring them back in Ottawa, see if they have another question for us. There they are.
Hello, Ottawa.
I see someone coming up.
Why? How did you even catch the buffalo?
The buffalo?
Yeah.
Oh, the buffalo were hard animals to catch. So if you've seen pictures of the buffalo, you see how fast they run. So most of the time, the harvesters would be on horseback, and they would run alongside the animal, and then they would get them with their spear or their arrows, bow and arrows, or in the later years, they would use a rifle to get them. But they would have to ride up alongside of them. Some cultures, they would force the animals over a cliff. Like, so if you're down in southern Alberta, there's a place in southern Alberta in the Blood community where they would force the buffalo over a cliff, and then they would fall down, and then they would harvest the animal at the bottom of the cliff.
All right. Well, we have a few more questions, a few more minutes together, Métis Santa, and a few more questions from YouTube. One of them is Miss McKay's class would love to know about any special snow activities, maybe that Métis children like to play in the snow, especially in the past.
Winter activities in the snow could be varied, and it would also depend on the culture and how those people were raised. So for us, what we would do, we would play fox and the hound. So you would make a path in the snow like this, and then a cross in the middle. And so then you would have to chase your brothers or your sisters or your cousins around there and try to catch them. We would also go tobogganing. We would go to my Kokum's place, my grandmother's, and they had a nice hill there where we would take our sleigh and our toboggan and slide down the hills. We would clean up parts of the river and go ice skating, hockey. We would have on the bigger waters, we would have what we call an ice boat with a little sail. Make snowman. We would roll up the snow, make it into a snowman. We would make snow forts, and then have wars between my brothers and my cousins behind the forts. We'd have snowball fights. What else were some of the things that we would do? I think that's the most of them. So.
Yeah, I think that there's a real theme amongst children games. They love to chase. They love to slide in the snow, and so it's really fun to hear about some of those games and some of those activities. We have another classroom here who'd really like to know about. So this is Henry. Henry really wants to know more about your ice fishing. Where do you like to go, and how often do you get to go?
Hi, Henry. Thank you. Maybe you could come ice fishing with me. So one of the places I like to go is up in the Lesser Slave Lake in northern Alberta. And some of the fish that we catch there are mostly walleyes or pickerel. Some people call them pickerel, but they're here we call them the walleye. There is also the pike or jackfish. There are perch in that lake. And also, so depending on the lake part itself, there would also be griggling. So some of the other places that I fished, if you go out west of Edmonton here, there are some lakes that have be stocked with trout, and those are awful fun to catch too.
All right. Well, I've got one more question here I'd like to ask. This is from Miss Hawley's group. They are joining us in Ajax, Ontario, and they'd like to know, what does the word Métis mean to you?
What does the word Métis mean? To me, it means it represents the blend of the two cultures. So the indigenous side and the non-indigenous side. So my father was non-indigenous, but my mother was a Cree Métis woman. And so in their union, all of my siblings are Métis. So my grandparents were Métis. My grandfather worked for the Hudson's Bay, and he was a fur buyer and a trader, and did a variety of things there. So it's part of the culture. It's the blending of the two cultures. And I think I'm one of the luckiest people around because I have all these skills and knowledge from both cultures together.
All right. Well, I want to start off with a huge shout out to all of the classrooms who joined us live on YouTube today. We had classrooms right across Canada from coast to coast, which was so great, and so great to share all those awesome questions with us. I want to give a huge shout out to our camera classrooms. Some of them, their class periods have ended, so they've had to duck off, but I want to bring in a few of them who are still hanging out behind the scenes with us. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Great to see you. Great questions. And then Métis Santa, thank you so much for that story. Thank you so much for sharing those beautiful mittens. And thank you so much for sharing some of your traditions and, some of the things that you love to do as well.
Thank you very much for having me and giving me a chance to share this story across the land. Thank you very much, Joe.
All right. Well, I hope everybody has a great holiday season. I hope you get to spend it with friends and family. Again, really think about giving thanks. And of course, that beautiful tradition of those mitts being made, nothing being wasted, and using everything. I think that's so important. And what a beautiful, beautiful tradition and beautiful thing to make for your loved ones. So thank you so much, everybody. And we will see you in the new year with more Downey Wanjack fun live events. We can't wait. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye.